Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of Community Voices, recorded, produced, and shared with you by CETRA. Our previous episodes have mainly focused on capturing a history of Colville Estate and the surrounding area. If you like, it has been really an effort to create an oral history or to capture the oral history of our neighborhood. Our two previous guests have given us a lot of insight into the makeup of the state, its history, and its current status. And today we are pleased to have another resident of Colville Estate. And just like previous sessions, it would be a more of a conversation and not really an interview. On that note, I'd like to introduce Eamon. Thank you, Eamon, for giving us your time and taking the trouble to come and talk to us.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. So, if I can start by asking if you could just tell us something about yourself, anything that would enable our listeners to create a visual image of you as a person. I don't mean physical, but something about you that people can latch on to.
I think, well, I'm a resident. I'm born here. I'm in my 40s. What can I say? Yeah, born here with my family. I'm of mixed heritage. And yeah, what else do you like to
Right.
know?
So, you were born right here in Colville Estate.
Correct.
And you grew up in Colville Estate.
That's correct.
Okay. Tell me, what do you recall from your childhood, from growing up? Not when you were a young adult, but really more of a young child. Do you remember anything specific?
I do recall quite a bit from a very young age. I would say, yeah, I do. I feel from the young ages, from probably before 10, I would say. I feel like, yeah, there's a big like community spirit in the sense that we're like a lot of friends that were from diverse backgrounds and cultures. Yet we found like our common thing was football. So we used to mingle together, we used to communicate with each other and make that I would say it was a daily thing when we can, especially through the holidays, but it was a weekly thing. I think that was something we were kind of bound together, like as a general interest. And a lot of things I think I remember is a lot of, I don't know, kind of like community spirit, a lot of togetherness. Like it's hard to fully explain, but we can elaborate.
But as a I don't know, as a young child, 8, 10-year-old child, did you feel you and your friends did you feel safe playing out in the in the state?
To be honest, generally, I think the area of Hackney didn't really have a good name for itself, or a good image, I should say. There's a lot of difficulties, a lot of illegal activities. So yeah, I feel, for example, just stating to anybody that you were from Hackney, straight away they would have some sort of perception of you, that you were either bad or you were going to be involved in some sort of bad activities. You always got some sort of, how can I put it, a negative persona attached to it. But in the area itself, I don't know, because we did feel safe in the area, we did. But on the outskirts, you did feel it. Once you came out of the area, you did kind of feel that. So at the time, there was a lot of, how can I put it, a lot of racial discrimination, I would say.
And you felt that even at that young age?
Yes, definitely. We had, for example, there was an incident, maybe about 6 o'clock in the evening. It was quite dark because I think it was winter time. So we were crossing the road and there was a car approaching us. No lights on, looked a bit weird, so we're just crossing the road. And then all of a sudden, they've put the headlights on and it's police. They've just pulled us over. questioned us why are we walking in the street. We said we're just simply crossing the road and we're just going home. And then they said, well, it's dark. Anything could have happened to you. Well, we said to them, you did have your lights off. We wasn't aware you're police or anything. So, but they said like, if you didn't, because it just felt like they were in charge, obviously, but there's no one else around. So we just felt like we were at their disposal. So we didn't do anything wrong. Yeah, we were treated in a way that we did do something wrong.
And that continued when you were a bit older, you know, in
Throughout.
your early teens?
Definitely, that happened throughout.
And it got worse?
It definitely did get worse. It definitely did get worse. And I think it's hard, especially the fact that you're not engaging in these illegal activities and you're trying to just go to school, get your education, and just live life, basically. But I suppose there's different variations in different areas, but predominantly in Hackney, and I would say more so in Colville, because we are surrounded by a lot of areas that do have a history, a well-known history. So it feels like we've seen different aspects from different angles. And the fact that we all, in a sense, went to similar schools, so we had that connection. So in a sense, like, you would sense that everyone was going through the same sort of thing, no matter what background or culture you were from or how you lived your life, you still had to be in the melting pot with others.
You said the Colville Estate was a mixed area. Well,
Correct.
presumably you mean demographically.
Demographically, yes.
And can you break that down for us, please? I mean, what kind of groupings would you recall from your
Well, from my younger days, there was a mixture of ethnic groups, but predominantly it was a white area, predominantly, especially throughout Hoxton. I think over the years you did see the changes in the introduction of a lot of different ethnic groups, which we found interesting because I felt we all had, even though we found common things that we engage with and that we, as normal human beings, I feel like it gave us a broad horizon to gauge different things and have understanding of people's cultures and different beliefs. So I feel like it created that unity in a sense, which kind of, in a sense, made us feel safer together.
You mentioned when you were young, you know, you were crossing the road and you were stopped by police officers. When you were a bit older, were you able to establish some kind of rapport with the younger kids in the state, so to give them perhaps some degree of guidance, some degree of protection?
Yeah, definitely.
How did that work out? I mean,
well, I've got a younger brother and a younger sister. So I think just having that experience, in a sense, and I feel that the age gap between a lot of my friends, there was quite a significant gap. A lot of them, the majority were younger, although they did have older brothers that we used to be together. There was an age gap, so naturally it did feel like they were my younger brothers in a sense, and you did feel at the time that you had kind of a responsibility to play, in a sense, because there were some people that they weren't fortunate, I should say, enough to have both parents in their life. I was fortunate enough to, regardless of like trials and tribulations that everyone has. But yeah, growing up, you did see a lot of friends that maybe had one parent around. So you kind of, I don't know, it gives that sort of understanding in a sense. So maybe if they didn't have their dad around, you felt like, I don't know, we had the community spirit. I used to have a lot of my friends come to my house, and my dad used to feed everyone and everything. And yeah, we just had, everyone was just like it was like a big family in a sense. I think that's what created the safety, in a sense, of that feeling of safety. Even though we were in an area that is predominantly bad or known for bad things or has a bad reputation.
And the how did the adults in the area play the part in ensuring that there is a community spirit?
I feel in the sense that we've always been brought up to respect our elders. So I feel regardless of who it is, in a sense, it could be my friend's mum or anything, it's just like a second mum to me, in a sense. So I feel we always had that sort of that sort of unity in that sense. If I go see my friend, his parents would treat me as such, and I'll treat them as such. So I think we all had that cultural thing. I think that's what a lot of kids are missing these days, in a sense. It's hard to differentiate a certain culture. Like, we all have different things and different morals and cultural values, but I'm sure there's things that we can all agree on. I think that's what was our common thing.
Okay.
It was more of a family orientated thing. I think that's what helped bound everyone together, in a sense.
You said some areas beyond the boundaries of Colville Estate where
Correct.
perhaps people didn't feel, I mean, children, the young adults didn't feel entirely safe to go there.
Mhm.
So subsequently, I presume you spend most of the free time within the state. What did you do? I mean, what was was there a playground? Was there a sports club, a youth
Well,
center?
we had a leisure centre. We used to go swimming. We used to do activities, badminton, do different sport activities, football, as I earlier mentioned. Um, but to be honest, there was only a little play park, which is still here, and it's made for younger kids. So you got swings and stuff. So there's not really a place that teenagers could really relax, or there's not really a lot of activity. So generally they tend to be around the estate. And even though we could just be, how can we put it, chilling, enjoying each other's company, talking and everything else, I think to other people it just seems like you've got a group of guys congregating, and because it's a bad area, they automatically come to that conclusion that you're up to no good.
And
And
that was a feeling by the residents or by visitors to the
I
state?
think both.
Both.
I think both. Unless you knew us,
Mm.
then you would just make that assumption, which is only fair. But in saying that, the funny thing is, I feel for a period of time, I left the area,
Mhm.
and then coming back a few years later to see the changes, it's kind of different, because I did see some old residents previously that did feel like, some of them did feel like, oh, you guys are just chilling on the block, maybe up to no good and everything else. But I feel after they've seen the changes and everything, I think they did realize that we wasn't actually doing that.
I see.
We did try and help. Like, if we saw an old lady or a neighbor that needed help, we'll do so. If someone needed protecting, we'll protect them. If they needed advice, we'll advise them. And that's another thing we used to do. It's like, no matter one thing we used to always do. If someone used to do bad things, we always try to advise them to do good. I think that's what the difference was. Like, you try to, even though you're in a mad, crazy world, you still have to try and do good, regardless of what's going on. But I feel like, yeah, saying that, one of the residents did say like, "Oh, we kind of miss you guys." It feels like they felt like we were, even though they just felt we provided some sort of protection just by being there, in a sense. And the fact that we would greet them, make sure they're okay. But since a lot of the people moved, and I feel that sort of attitude has kind of gone, that unity and everything else, I think in the sense that people have felt it now. But
Okay.
yeah,
And I mean, Colville State has gone and is going through significant changes. Uh, how do you find the changes? Is it something you welcome, or is it something you think that could have been done differently? How do you see the changes?
well, I feel aesthetically it looks nice, in a sense. But I feel it kind of like, because of the way, I don't know, the living arrangements and the way structures are these days, I feel like it does create some sort of disconnect, in a sense that it feels like, not to be rude, but it's like, if you look at the buildings, everyone has a certain proportion of space, and then you want to feel like you want to protect that space and you want to make it aesthetically look nice. But in a sense, it's like a glorified prison, in a sense. In other words, I don't mean to be crude, but it does feel like that at times. Aesthetically, it looks nice, but it's just everyone's just arranged in boxes. And it just feels like, unless you're outside going to the shop or you're passing by, you may see somebody. I feel like you have a disconnect in that sense, because I feel like everyone's more isolated. And unless there's a a park or community centre that people can actually integrate or mingle together. I think the structure and layout before was different. It felt more of an open plan sort of thing.
So you think the architecture of the changes is not conducive to developing or fostering or bettering a community spirit?
Yeah, I feel it. Look, aesthetically, it looks nice. I feel like, yes, you're providing extra maybe services, maybe things for kids and stuff. I think that's a good thing. It's a benefit. I feel like it does feel safer in that sense. I feel the attitude feels different. Nowadays, I see more younger families, more diverse people. It feels like, yes, that regeneration in that sense, where it feels new. But I feel in a sense, I feel what is kind of missing is that the old kind of community feel, in a sense.
So do you think where we are now, a place like CETRA could play a critical role in ensuring that community spirit, community engagement, and community space is not lost?
Yeah, just to maintain the engagement and keep that connection. I think that's one thing. Like visually, I feel if you're born in this area and moved away and came back maybe 20 years later, yeah, aesthetically it looks different to you. The feel may feel different, but I feel the actual feeling, the difference in that sense. I feel like it does feel more, how can I put it, more diverse in a sense. Not to say we didn't have diversity, because we were lucky enough to have various different ethnic groups, ranging from Vietnamese, Chinese, Nigerians, Jamaicans, Caribbean, could be anything. So I feel we had those different bases. Now it's even more so, which is a good thing. But yeah, you can see the contrast in a sense. I think it's more in a sense, I don't want to put a negative aspect on it, but I think more of the racial aspect. So from being younger, seeing predominantly more white areas. Obviously, this area borders Islington very closely, and yeah, you used to see and feel certain activities and certain things going on at the time.
Do you think the Hackney Council do you think Hackney Council uh, paid adequate attention to the architectural design of the the regeneration or the changes in order to capture the social aspect of the state?
I think what they tried, what you saw, the change that you actually saw basically were when they introduced security doors. We never used to have security doors; it used to just be open. But they started introducing security doors, more cameras. So it felt like they were trying to make it a safer place, but it didn't feel like, I didn't feel like they were actually doing anything to actually improve things in that sense. It felt like, yes, well, you've got cameras, so maybe certain activities won't be happening, or you're adding security so everyone to feel safe. But it didn't feel like they were actually engaging with the community to ask, like, what do we actually want? What do we actually need? It just felt like things were just implemented. You were notified and it was just implemented, rather than finding out what's the actual issues.
So there was no, in your experience, no adequate
Yeah,
consultation.
not no real engagement.
Uh, do you still have you see some of your old friends here?
Luckily, I do,
Yes.
especially of recent times. Yeah, we've managed to meet up. So yeah, it's refreshing. It's refreshing because you can, you talk about old stories and everything, and reflect on old times.
You mentioned something about education.
Mhm.
Uh, the you know you and your young adults from your age group were going to different schools and so on. How important was education from what you remember? Was it absolutely critical for people to go to school to do well, or was it not so important?
No, growing up, I feel you had to. it was a good thing to be intelligent. I think nowadays it's maybe frowned upon in a sense. You'd be maybe called a nerd, but but yeah, it did feel like you try more. Like you had to have a good education in order to have a good future.
Mm.
And yeah, I think that was instilled in us from young, and we did kind of not in competition, but we did try to push each other because we wanted the best for each other. So yeah, we all tried to, no matter what we were doing, try to have some sort of education or some sort of something to focus on and really build on the future. I feel these days, I feel maybe it's put in a different light in a sense. I feel because I feel like kids have more opportunities in a sense. Like you could go to university to study video games or do things that are, I don't know, maybe of your interest, but those days it was a bit different. It's more like you had to study like math, science, be good at certain things, and just yeah. I think that I don't know, just the whole. I think the mentality was different. You had to you had to do well. You had to try your best, and through education, I think these days there's more opportunities to do a lot of things and be successful, and not necessarily have to have a degree, for example. So there are different. I think life is different. If you reflect on it in that sense, it is different. But we did have a strong thing of education, and I feel that's maybe because of the age thing coming from now. Well, I'm in my mid-40s now, so I think yeah, our parents at that generation did try to instill that into us. It was more about your moral values, your moral compass. But yeah, you do see the changes, and it does make you feel older just looking back in a sense. So yeah, but I find it interesting.
I mean, looking back, that's my final question,
Okay.
and it is already is really it has been really great talking to you. If you could imagine
Okay.
that you were in a position to make a determining decision in so far as the changes that has happened in Colville Estate, what would your key decisions be? What would you ensure it exists? What would you ensure that does not happen?
I think obviously, I think predominantly I would like to see and the maintaining of the culture of what we had and the togetherness. I think that's important. I feel, in a sense, it's like if you know where you've been, you know where you have an idea of where you're going. In a sense, and I feel we need to have that connection to maintain that in a sense. So we need to know what the residents want. What do the residents? What will make them happy? They have to be able to voice their opinions in a sense, because it is designed for them in a sense. They are the ones living in this environment and living here. So yeah, I feel that their voice is important, and their opinion, how they feel in a sense, because in turn that would be reflected in the community as a whole.
So it would be fair to say that your magic, your superpower would be to ensure that the community's wishes, perceptions, opinions, ideas, all of those are not neglected, and not only not neglected, but very actively sought and captured and listened to. Would that be fair?
Definitely. I think everything started on a basis of understanding. And I think if we all have a common ground of understanding, then anything is possible, really.
Fantastic. That has been extremely interesting talking to you, Eamon.
Thank you.
And once again, I appreciate you. I know you're a busy man and giving us your time. Thank you so much.
No,
We
thank
will
you for
have
having me.
the conversation on our platform, and I encourage everybody to listen to it. And if there are others who would like to take part in this great initiative, please do get in touch. Thank you, and have a very good afternoon.
Thank you for having me.